Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Backpack Trader Training Room for Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. Please note the required risk disclosure. This room is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Trading of this type carries substantial risks and should only be attempted with funds you can afford to do without. Trade your charts, not mine. Only do so with risk capital. All right. No other sessions today. We're not going to do the crude oil inventory report at noon today. That's when it is. All right. Crude picks up the add-on trade 902.33. This blue trade, and it's hit targets 2 and 3. So 15 and 22, 37 ticks on the morning. Unleaded. That long trade is early. Well, actually, that's a valid get in sync. Oh, that's not nice. So it stops and reverses into the short, which takes a full loss. And that would have been entries 18, so it would have been 14. So we get the stop and reverse loss and a full loss. So we are behind this morning on unleaded. Crude is done. Soybeans went too far and then stopped out on this early trade. We'll look for a new setup there. The YM is a get in sync short. Looks like the stop is right on the session high at 49,536. So I would push that up to 538. And we'll go to target 2. It's a small trade. Micro Russell has a trade that's gone too far. Not sure if we could have gotten in that or not. Get the stop and the target on the same bars, or entry on the same bar. And the pound Aussie is 10. This is one of those, oh, not nice. 2-minute stand down on entry with news at 8:30 this morning, red label news. So we take the long at 97.06, and we come get the short at 96.88. Back to the long at 97.01. 2-tick stop and reverse adjustment plus a 2-tick adjustment for the major key level. So that pushes money management up to 97.13. Market is open, and there is a long trade on soybeans. YM bouncing around rapidly there. We get long 5 seconds ahead. That definitely is a no trade. Okay. Soybeans has the long. Nothing else that I see offhand other than nothing else for the trade right now. We are out of both positions on crude. So it's done. Unleaded in a bit of a hole. A couple losses there. Micro Russell coming back down, no trade because it would have set up above the 22 EMA, which is that cyan line. And we have a long setup on the Micro Russell. And there it bounces up to money management. And target. So target 3 in hand, we go to target 4. Looks like, and we are trailing, we get target 4, so solid win on the first trade here. And we would have gone up one tick. 36 flat, it looks like, for money management. Squeeze zone filter keeping us out of the short on unleaded this time. Pound Aussie still hanging around just above the entry. 36.2 for the Micro Russell stock. Nothing on the YM. Short on the YM. That bounced through too fast to catch and went too far. So that's a no trade. Micro Russell trade stopped out. So soybeans is long. Micro Russell is flat. YM is still flat. Looking for a new trade here. This trade went too far. YM setting a new session high, 49,737. Now pulling back to the 50 EMA. Micro Russell looks like it's pulling back toward the 50 as well, but maybe bouncing at the 22. Pound Aussie long trade was stop and reverse. Ended up with a 4-tick adjustment, so that also adjusts our money management 4 ticks. Short trade on crude. Well, it's time to get in that, and it gave us another opportunity there. Yeah, that's right. We're done with crude anyway, so we're not going to participate in this one. I'm just so used to still be looking at crude at this point. All right, the YM picks up a long trade, definitely in the trade. Target 1 was plenty big at 27 ticks, so we are trailing. That's YM will be done on this trade. Ouch. Unleaded does pick up a long trade, taking some heat now. Good thing crude is done because it's now reversed to short, to a long as well. All right, there is a stop out on the YM, so that's a one and done session for the YM. Almost up to target 2 with the trailer. Solid win there, and we'll put unleaded up there so we can look at the micro NQ. Micro NQ might have a short here. Yeah, that was within time, and I see wicks, so we definitely should be in this. It has hit target 1 for money management. And reaching down for target 2. Oh yeah, definitely in the trade with the wicks. Unleaded going through the long entry again. Pound Aussie testing its 50 EMA. And soybeans taking some heat, testing its 20 simple moving average. Crude pushing up, unleaded following. Micro NQ isn't sure if it's going to go down further or not. Consolidating a little bit. Unleaded back through the entry and on the downside a little bit. All right, we reverse for a profitable trade and go long on micro NQ. That's a big trade. Oh yeah. Target 1 will be our first actionable. So we'll go targets 1, 2, and 3 rather than 2, 3, and 4. One tick away from money management on the pound Aussie. There it goes. So we'll come to our break even. That's going to be 90. Now it's going to be 96.99 until we hit target 3. 2 positions at 3, 2 at 4, and one trail with the money management this high up. So I'll move my stop up to 99. That's a major key level, is why I'm not bringing it all the way up to 02. I'll bring it up to 02 when we hit our actionable target. Ouch! That's a full loss on the micro Russell. Now the question is, yeah, that very likely is avoidable. I'll have to go back and look at that. We'll see where that one falls. Money management again on micro Russell NQ rather. And taking heat on unleaded. Crude touched its money management, stopped out at break even, and now has a short, but we aren't participating there because crude is done. If there was time to get in, the micro Russell trade is a loser. If not, it's a no trade. All right, we take another positive reversal on the micro NQ, and then we take a full loss. So we've got two small wins and a full loss. So we're going to be down at this point, I'm sure. And we have a long setup on the micro NQ now. And that cancels, and a short setup that triggers and gives us time to get in. And it's bouncing around. Should be in the trade. Looks like we hit target 2, or target 3 rather, on the pound Aussie. 97.17. Yep, we hit it on the nose. So 2 positions come off. 20 less 4, so 16 ticks times 2, 32 pips. And we will move our stop up to 02 now. 97.02. Short trade on the micro NQ. Not going to let us end up with a losing trade after we do get a win. So in the short on the micro NQ, short trade also on the micro Russell. It's almost a target. Just barely got below the 22 EMA. Set up that trade. And target 4 and trailing nicely. It's like trailer at target 4 now. This will be a second winner. And we would have added a tick, our 14 tick minimum. And target 3 on micro NQ. And we now go long. So we get target 2 and target 3 on the short. We go long on micro Russell. Soybean still in the long trade. Oh, unleaded takes a third loss. Full stop out on the long trade. And micro Russell stops out at target final position at target right at target 4. So 2 wins and a loss. I'll go ahead and count that as a loss. Unless I go back and look at it. I have time in here somewhere. All right. Move up to 1703 for the, or 9703 rather. Looking for target 4, 2 positions at target 4. We already have 32 pips in hand. 3 positions still in play. 2 of them at target 4. 1 to trail. Well, and there it is. So that's target 4. 22 ticks times 2. That's 44, and 32 is 76. And we have another stop move up. This is going to be a one and done session for the pound Aussie. We take a loss and then they go to short on the micro NQ. That's moving well. This is actually the 4th win, so this will be the final trade. Target 2 and trailing. So 2 solid winners, and actually it's the 4th win in the 6th trade. So. Crude and unleaded both with long trades. Unleaded digging out from a deep hole. Crude is done. We'll look for the 10 o'clock session there. In fact, crude has hit money management, or unleaded rather, has hit money management. And we stop out. No targets, just the break-even stop. $97.09 for the pound Aussie trailer. And a nice target 2, 3, and 4 win on the micro NQ to finish that trade plan. And that does stop out on the trailer. And so I'll bring unleaded back down over top of that. YM usually will tell us more than the micro NQ about what's going on in the market. Wow. YM as well. All three markets pushing down solidly. Micro Russell testing its 200 EMA. YM down below its 200. Down 250 ticks, 250 points from the session high we were just looking at on YM. Soybean still hanging in, taking a little bit of heat. It's hit the entry a couple of times. So we have unleaded, pound Aussie, soybeans, and micro Russell. We'll look for the 10 a.m. crude mini session in 5+ minutes. Yeah, just 3 trades on the micro Russell so far. Soybeans testing its 50 EMA again. No long trade yet on the micro Russell. Didn't get up above the 22 EMA. That's a custom trade plan. Don't think we're going to get a stop move on this bar. On the pound Aussie, it's not going to go far enough to move the balance line enough to get us above 09. Plotted stop will probably, or unadjusted stop would be 11, which is going to key level down to 9 still. I could be wrong, but we'd have to get to 97.13.8, or yeah, 97.13.8 before it's going to come up to 97.12. Well, I may be wrong. It's up to 13.7. Needs just one more. He needs to rise just one more tick. And we'll move the stop to 97.12 on the close of the bar. Right now, it's still and yes, it did move up. Stop moved up to 97.12. No, 97. Yeah, 97.12. $11 pips now on the trailer. 76 pips in hand on a small trade. Soybean still deciding whether it's going to push through the 50 or bounce off. Unleaded is flat and micro Russell is flat. Micro Russell and the YM both turning down again. No trade in the micro Russell. Just another stop move up on the pound Aussie. Filtered short on soybeans. Trend mode keeping us out of that short as the trend indicator is still positive, still blue on that bar. Another stop move on the pound Aussie up to 17.19 or 97.19. Short trade on the micro Russell, plenty of time to get in that. Trade number 4. A little bit of a wick here. Yeah, not big enough. So we'll still go with target 3. But money management will be target 1. That's 17 ticks. So it's above our minimum this time. All right, we are into our 10 a.m. mini session. This long trade on crude has gone too far. So we'll look for a new trade there. $19 from 01, 18 ticks on the trailer, 18 pips rather, on the pound Aussie. That would put us at 94. Now let's see, how much have we lost is the key. 06 to 88, no. 06 to 89. So 17 times 5, that's 85 pips. And then we go 89 to 01 is another 12, another 60 pips. So we're down 135 pips. So we're still going to be down 31 pips at this point. We still need this trailer to go a ways. Unleaded with short setup. I will be right back, folks. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Unleaded short trade starting to move. Crude moving down as well. Aussie testing its 200 EMA. Looks like it may blow right through it. Trailer up to 97.33. 32 pips. $76, 108. So down when down 27. Still, that's actually not bad with 2 stop and reverses and 1 win. All right, there's another money management on unleaded. Stop moves down. No targets as yet. And a long trade. We did get a target 3 win. So that's win number 3 on Micro Russell, and now in the long trade. We do need an extra tick for money management. I guess it's going to be 34.5. And look for target 3. Trade number 5. One more tick on the pound Aussie. And we do get targets 1 and 2 on unleaded. Crude makes a nice move down. So that is our 10 a.m. crude setup. 10 a.m. trade. Oh, nice big trade. I will see. Looks like we're right on the 200 EMA. I'd bump that up. Yeah, I'd take it to 88. Let's see where our targets are here. Trailing on unleaded. 3, 4. That was trade number. This is trade number 5, so we only got one more trade. It's going to be difficult to get unless we get a couple of really strong trailers. Break even on trade number 5. We have a short trade set up for trade number 6. Final trade for Micro Russell. Yeah, D1. 29.3 it looks like. All right, and soybeans did stop out. That's actually going to be a stop and reverse at the stop, at the full stop out, 66.5. So we are now short on soybeans. Our risk was 16 ticks, so we're down 16 points. And we take a full loss for our final trade on Micro Russell. But 3 solid winners, and that will be a positive session. $32 for target 1, $50 for target 2 on the unleaded trade. We've got a couple of ticks now on the trailer. Trailer's about to make a significant move down on this bar. It'll be 84.41. Unless we move down another tick. There's 84.41 for the unleaded stop. Pound Aussie stop moves up to 97.38. It's 112 positive. So another, that's still down 23. Crude is short, unleaded is short. All right. Unleaded stopping out. 84.32 from the entry at 84.54. So that's 22. 72 ticks for target 2. 1 trade remaining. Another tick up on the pound Aussie. Long trade on unleaded now. Soybeans tested the 50 one more time. Bounced and is kind of consolidating at the moment. Rejected the 50. No, this is not nice. We've got crude short and unleaded long. Those two are usually fairly correlated. Unleaded set a new session low. Soybeans back up to its entry level. For the short. Pound Aussie bouncing along the 200 EMA. We need it to break through that. It's 21 pips down now. Well, assuming a stop out at this level. $50 EMA acting kind of like a magnet on unleaded. Good morning. How are you doing this morning? I thought of something after we got off the other day. Since you are not US based, another possibility would be something like the XAU XAU USD, which is a gold pair. Gold is often a very good market, and it's a market that tends to move in any of the sessions pretty well in any of the sessions. It's a commodity pair rather than a currency pair. but it's something you probably have access to through your broker. We're prohibited from taking advantage of those here in the States, here in the U.S. Our regulatory folks are doing us so many favors. All right, another target win on unleaded. Target one. Stop comes up. $10 a.m. crude, and we have a potential stop and reverse. I don't think yeah, 61, so it'll be 63. Yeah, 60, that puts it up above the 50. I'll take that. It's right at the 20, but it's not a great spot. But really not a good place to move it up either. That's our stop and reverse. Triggered in unadjusted, so the only thing that will cancel it at this point is hitting its stop or a reversing short trade. Unleaded trying to reach target 2. Final trade for unleaded. Pound Aussie moves up to 90. Trailer moves up to 97.42. 41 ticks on the trailer. 41 pips on the trailer, rather. Puts us at 117 positive on this trade. So that puts us down just 18 ticks on the session. 18 pips. Unleaded missing target by a couple of ticks. It looks missing target 2 by about 2 ticks. Looks like we triggered in. Yep, we triggered into the long on crude. So crude reverses at 63. Yep, 10 ticks to target 1. That is money management and first target. Actually, no, that's not. Money management is going to go up to 73 because of the stop and reverse adjustment. So our target's going to move up. So that's what the trade looks like. Do have starting to trail unleaded. Soybeans still right around its entry again. Still testing the 50 EMA. Looks like we'll have a move up to 44. But it's down 16 ticks. Pound Aussie. There's the Pound Aussie move. Yeah, kind of tail end of the session today. We've got Pound Aussie still active. This is its power of quitting trade. Well, it may be its power of quitting trade. Getting close to our break-even point for the session. Micro Russell's done. Micro NQ was done. Micro NQ was probably about a break-even session. Micro Russell's definitely a winning session. Nine a.m. crude at one and done. So definitely a positive session there. This is our second trade on the 10 a.m. session. Very small loss on the first one. Going from 57 to 63, so 6 ticks, 6 tick risk, 12 tick loss. So we should be able to recover that easily with probably just a target 1. In fact, yes, certainly would. Target 1 would be worth 15, so yeah, that would get us to positive. All right, unleaded, crude and unleaded both moving up again a bit. The unleaded stop moves up to 84.68. And Pound Aussie moves, looks like it moves through, trying to push through the 200 EMA, which is a good sign. There's a move up. That's another 5 ticks. 5 pips. 97.49 on the pound Aussie. 48 and 76 is 124. Just 11 ticks down now. Pips rather, not ticks. So soybeans is short from 66.5. YM is done. Fruit is long from 63. And unleaded stopped out at 84.68. So that was our final trade. Missing target looks like about 2 ticks. 85.05, and we got as high as 1 tick. That would have been a trade for profit time. Given that we had stop and reverse and 2 full losses, I don't think we got positive. But we certainly mitigated the loss with those two wins. 3 losses to start with, and we pick up a break even and two, that 1 target 2 winner, 1 missing target 2 by a tick. So you should at least get target 1 out of that. Certainly, go ahead and ask. Not a whole lot happening now. That was the end of the unleaded session. That was the 6th trade. So we're watching crude, pound Aussie, and soybeans. So you're asking how important is the concept of liquidity in trading? It's for day traders, liquidity is fairly important because you need to be able to get in and out of trades efficiently and with reasonably good fills. You don't want something that's too thinly traded, or you're going to get a lot of slippage because your spreads are going to be wide. But liquidity in the spot forex market should be pretty good, and especially for the times you're looking at trading. But that's something you want to watch, is make sure you're in pairs that have reasonably good liquidity, because that is an important part of day trading. If you've got a pair that's very thinly traded, doesn't have a lot of activity, then you're not going to be able to get in and out easily. And efficiently. So that's something to be aware of. You definitely want, when you're looking at both day trades and swing trades, short-term trades, you definitely want to be able to have enough liquidity in whatever you're trading to get in and out efficiently. And that's the key. Why liquidity is important for short-term traders is efficient entry and exit. Yeah, balance line came down a tick. Need a couple more up bars to get us positive on the session. Basically, what they're looking at is they're looking at market depth on orders and seeing plenty of orders around those price points. If you've got a market that has enough liquidity, you're really not as much that now. That's one way of looking at the market, is where the order volume is and that kind of thing. But primarily, most of what we're looking at is price. We're finding price points that we think are good entries, and chart patterns is as much of that as anything. I really don't study liquidity that carefully, other than to make sure that I'm working with instruments that have enough liquidity to get in and out of easily without having too much slippage. All right. Crude hits money management, so stock moves up to 59.64. Okay, now we need, there's the first up bar. Now we need a couple more up bars on the pound Aussie. Couple of closes solidly above the 200 now. See if we continue with zero stripes back and forth, or if we begin to move up. And using liquidity is one method for getting to trade entries and exits. It's just not the one that I use or that the Backpack Trader strategies use. So I really can't comment much beyond that. It's there are trade strategies that use it almost exclusively. So it's all in how you're using the particular price action and liquidity to set up your trades. No, don't mind at all. We've got active trades going on. I'm not going anywhere right now. I have an appointment in about 2.5 hours. I've got some time. Got time. All right. The plotted stop on this is 62 because the unadjusted entry was 61. Since our stop and reverse adjustment was 63, I have the stop at 64. Well, then back down below the 200 EMA on pound Aussie. In fact, we got down really close to the stop. Stop was at 97.49. I saw at least 97.49. Yeah, 49.6 was our low. So just 4 ticks away from the stop, but bounced back up. Yeah. That's the $64 question. That's why you see me make small adjustments on the chart. I'll make adjustments around swing levels of. I'll make adjustments, 1 to 3 ticks depending on trade size. Typically, once in a while even larger. Depends on the market. But you're not going to avoid all of those. There will be losing trades in trading. No way around that. If you haven't got some losers, you haven't got a trade plan that's going to make you money long term. It's just there's just going to be some in there that you're going to have to deal with. But your testing should show you that you've got a win rate depending on what your risk reward ratio is. Your win rate should be anywhere from 50 to 80% or so. And if your win rate is really high, then don't need as big of risk reward ratio. some of those fake traps are testing to find out what strategies work, basically keep you out of them, a lot of those, or at least some of those, and so you have an appropriate win rate. So that, because you're not just trading to have all wins, you're trading to make money. So if a strategy that gives you the appropriate win rate, but has some of the, gets caught in some of those traps, that's fine. Yeah, that is definitely frustrating. Um, Setting stop losses is often rather tricky, and that's kind of why I like the way that Troy presents it. The stops and targets are based on the price movement that caused the setup, and that happens to me as well, and it's going to happen. It just doesn't happen very often if you've got an appropriate strategy. If you're seeing it happen a lot, your stop is probably a little too tight. That's why you want to do back testing. Go back with the data and with the charts and move the charts so that you're looking at the right edge of the chart and see where your trades would be and record what the results were. And once you've got 100 to 120 trades in, you can begin to make some judgments on have you got a high enough win rate, and is it going to continue to, or is it going to give you increasing profitability, or enough profitability to be increasing the size of the account. But yeah, if you're seeing hit the stop and then move up to target a lot, you need to open up your stop placement a little bit, because the trade just needs a little bit more room to breathe, or your stops are in places where a lot of people's stops are, and the market makers are running the stops periodically. Okay, there's target 1 for crude. So that's going to get us positive on crude for the 10 a.m. mini session. That was 15 ticks to target 2. We were down 12. So we're plus 3 and at least plus 1 on the trailer. So that's plus 4 at least. We're still looking for target 2. Or actually, that was target 2. We're looking for target 3 now, which would be another 22 ticks. Green line up here. But that will be a second positive session on crude today. Two winning mini sessions. All right, there is a short setup on the pound Aussie, and that's at our stop. Like that. So at the moment, we're still looking for trades because we're not quite positive. So I will place that trade, or mark it up as if it were being placed. This one also is a little bit small, so it's going to be, our first actionable will be target 2. And we do trigger into the short. So our stop is up at 97.66 now. Our entry was at 97.49. That was 48 ticks on the trail, 48 pips on the trailer, 76 on the targets, 124. So we're down 11 pips. So basically we need a target 2, which looks like it's going to be 13, to get target 2 on this trade, which will be the first actionable, to get positive, for a trailer of at least, let's see, 5 positions, 3 ticks. But yeah, that's what your testing is all about. You know, is your stop too tight? And you will see that as you go through and mark up each trade and put that into some sort of record that somehow, so that you know what your win rate is, what you run the calculations and find out how much you made or lost on each trade, and keep a cumulative total and see if the account equity is going up or down based on your testing. You don't necessarily have to spend real money on that to find out. Okay, soybeans got down to the session open at 1064. We're looking for 1063 3/4 for target 1 and money management. What do you mean by what I just did? Are you talking about on the pound Aussie chart? Or are you talking about what was just talking about back testing and creating your data so that you know whether you've got a trade plan that has a statistical advantage and will increase your account equity over time, and will recover from draw, because there will be drawdowns, but you want to make sure that the trade plan will recover from those drawdowns. Okay, yeah. I use a tool that was generated by Troy, or actually Troy had it built. It's a spreadsheet tool, and it's very pretty sophisticated macro-based spreadsheet that he makes available as part of all of his strategies. And it would be something definitely to look into. Probably his least expensive would be the CPX, which is it's kind of a scaled down version of Counterpunch, which is what I'm using on soybeans over here. But that can also be used on the forex pairs. I would suggest that you get look into getting something like NinjaTrader for a charting platform. I'm assuming that right now you're working with either MT4 or MT5, but the limitation on those I know is basically primarily time-based charts. Time-based charts can work nicely, but I think that range bars are price-based, more pure price action type charts will give you better trade setups and more consistent profitability. The thing with time-based charts is whatever happens in that time is going to be what that bar is. Whereas you can see trends a little bit easier with the, and there is a long trade on unleaded. That is going to be we're not going to participate in that. That would be trade number 7. Crude trying to push up to its 200 EMA. Plotted stop now is at 59.64, so we'll start to trail as this goes up. Okay, you see the dots on this? The trade setup is actually being plotted on the chart by the strategy I'm running, which is Spotlight Power Trader. The little dot that I've got the blue line on is money management level, where I'll bring the stop to break even, and the stop dots are up here based on these exhaustion dots being 2 pips beyond the high of the bars, and then those dots moved up because the exhaustion, but these are called exhaustion dots. They are at 97.64.5, and 97.65 is a key level. So that's why we pushed the stop up to 97.66. But that's where that stop is. The entry was at 97.49. Target 1 there, looking at the data window over here on the far left. S for short, target 1 is 97.40, which is too small because that we have a minimum of 10 pips for our minimum target. Because if you go for targets that are too small, your risk reward ratio is not good, and you have to have a much higher win rate. If you've got a risk reward ratio that's like 70 or 80%, you're going to have to win, set 70, 80% or so just to break even. Because when you get a loss, it's going to set you way back. Okay, I haven't worked with TradingView, and Troy's strategies are not programmed for TradingView. His strategies are programmed. Actually, Counterpunch, it can be used on MT4, but that your MT4 limitation is, I think Counterpunch and Spotlight both can be used on MT4, but your MT4 limitation is going to be that you're basically stuck with time-based charts. think there's some EAs that will produce some other charts for MT4, but I'm not that familiar with it. Okay, pound Aussie pulled down, now is back at the entry again. But these targets are based on the distance from the high of the first bar of the exhaustion dot to the low of the low of the lowest bar of the 3 setup bars, which happens to be this one right here. That the low of that bar is 97.54.5. So the entry would go, and actually they're taking that off of the third setup bar. I think third setup bar low is 51.3, and the setup is 49. Yeah, they're taking that off of the. But the X factor is, the X factor should be there to here. Let me see. The X factor is basically, it's either the high of the setup bars to the low of the setup bars, or the high of the setup bars to the low of the bar the actual trade sets up on. All right, that's moving down close to target 1. We're looking for money management at 97.37. 12 tick minimum. That'll cover the two pip spread and give us at least a 10 pip profit on that at that point. That gives us at least 10 pips of movement at that point. I've heard fairly good things about TradingView. It's not near as powerful as NinjaTrader or TradeStation. Those are the primary two that Troy has his stuff programmed for. But as I say, Counterpunch, and I'm not sure if Spotlight is available for MT4 or not. But Counterpunch is a solid strategy, especially for the forex pairs. I think Spotlight is a little bit more efficient. All right, crude picks up the 22 tick target 2, so we end up 25 ticks positive on the session. So crude has finished 2 sessions. Micro Russell is done. The YM is done. Soybeans is still hanging around. Unleaded is done on 6 trades. It's going to be a losing session, but not terribly so. And we are in trade number 4 on the pound Aussie. And if we can get to money management, that will be at least 4 ticks. We need a little bit, or at least 5 pips. And we're down 11, so we need 2 pips on the trailer, which means we're going to probably get target 2, which is going to be worth 14 pips. So that'll get us positive. So basically, we're looking to get to that green line to get positive on today's session. Trades were the pluses are the entry points. So we had the long trade, stop and reverse, and We adjust this entry point 2 pips down with the stop and reverse. That was a 17 pip risk, so 5 positions, it's an 85 pip loss. This one goes from that entry point 2 ticks below there, which was 89. The entry point for this one, this was 97 plotted. So stop and reverse adjustment would put it at 96.99, which would need to be key level to 97.01. You don't want to enter a trade right below the 100 tick or 100 pip level. So we adjust that to 97.01. That was a 15 or no, 12. That was a 12 tick risk, 5 tick, 5 times 5 positions. So we lost 60 there. I'm sorry, so we're down 145. I kept going 135, and that's 145, 85 and 60. So we're 21 pips down at the moment. Picking up 124 on that long trade. Because of our entry adjustment, money management also adjusted up 4 pips. So we took profit at targets 3 and 4, and I said 2 positions at 3, 2 positions at 4, and 1 on the trailer is how I got to the 76 ticks of profit. This target 3 was worth 20 less the 4 tick adjustment on the entry, so 16 times 2. And target 4 was 26 minus 4, or 22 times 2. That's how I got there. So that's using Spotlight, and Counterpunch uses a same kind of thing. I've got triangles are my entry point, and just point up or down depending on long or short entry. The yellow dot is the money management level, and those are there's 3 targets: target 1, target 2, target 3. They're 1x, 1.5x, and 2x. And the X factor again is in this case, the low of the first of the 3 setup bars to the high of the actual trade setup bar. And trade setup is 2 tick offset. Stop is 2 ticks from the low point, which is where the exhaustion dots are, or key level. We don't key level in soybeans because it's a quarter point market, so it's very difficult to key level the markets that are quarter point. Now, the forex, yes, I'll absolutely key level those at minor key levels at 5, major key levels are actually 50. Minor key levels will be at 50 ticks, 5 pips, and major key levels will be 50 pips. So every 5 pips, I'll adjust within 1 tick. I'll go, if it's 1 tick, within 1 tick, I'll adjust 1 tick the other way depending on the direction, obviously. Like that 49 entry we had on that stop. You notice that stop just went sideways. That was because it was key level below the 97.50 level. So it was key level 1 tick below that. It happened to be that's where the trade setup was anyway. That setup wasn't adjusted at all for key levels. For the short. The trailer is following this green line, which is a proprietary. we call it the balance line, the balance of buyers and sellers. And we just trail that by two pips, which is these dots coming up following that, obviously. All right, back up to the entry at 49 again. It looks like the price is kind of stuck between the 50 EMA, which is that goldenrod line, and the 97.50 level. Let me see if I put something in. And Troy does a monthly intro workshop to his mentorship program, but also I think he may show some of his different strategies as well. That might be worth your while. It's a training session where he does some basic training, and I think he charges a couple hundred dollars for that, two or $250 for that right now. That would probably be worthwhile. It sounds like where you're at right now. Okay, crude made target 2, came back and stopped out. So pound Aussie and soybeans are the only charts that we still have running. Those don't tend to be fast movers. We're we were almost 2 hours in this morning. Yeah, I can't get into description right now, but I don't know if but I go on the backpacktrader.com website, and that should get you to where that training session is. He runs those, I think, one Saturday a month. Which I think he just ran one last Saturday. And that would be a good informational point. But he's got some filters built into these. You'll see the gray trades, they're showing up in gray, are filtered out. So I'm not, we just are aware of those is all. This particular trade is what's called a squeeze filter. The entry is coming between the 200 and the 50, and the 50 is crossing between the entry and target one, and against the direction of the 50 EMA. So that's one we will typically, that's one of the filters we'll use that filters out trades. Some other different filters coming from histogram. The chop zone filter, you see the dots down here along the line of the histogram. We don't trade against the 50 EMA when we're in those sections. So things like that. With Spotlight, we use 50 crossing over the 200 as a filtering. We'll wait. It's selectable, but typically we'll wait about 8 bars after a crossover before we'll enter trades against that crossover, going into that crossover. We'll go with the cross, with the 50, but not against it. So that's kind of some of what's on here. Kind of hope to see if, well, soybeans is almost right back up to the entry point again. Got one tick away. Pound Aussie is having trouble moving down. 50 is moving up, which is going to make it even tougher to get through to that target. All right. All right, Alan. Given that, given that these are the last two markets are pretty slow moving, I'm gonna call it a day, and we will come back again on Tuesday. And see you next week. Everybody have a good one, and talk to you Tuesday.